Hey everybody, I'm Michael. In this video, I'm going to review all the Land Before Time movies. I loved the Land Before Time series as a kid. We had the first 5 movies at home, and so I would just watch them over and over again. Oh, they're so good, so much fun. And that's why I'm doing this review series where I'm going to review all of them. The first movie is by far the best of the bunch. It's just fantastic. Rewatching as an adult, it's just still super amazing. Like, all the scenes are great, the pacing's good, the animation is gorgeous. There's just a lot of scenes which are great to just watch. Like the scene of Littlefoot being born, or the scene of the tree star falling down, or just even seeing Littlefoot's family members turn around and look at him. That's just super interesting to see the animation. It's just, everything looks so good. It's about 5 dinosaurs that are traveling to the west to reach the Great Valley. So this is a magical place where everything's fantastic. And their parents aren't there. So it's kind of got that story to it, and it's also got the story element of Bambi, because Littlefoot's mom is brutally murdered by a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It is scary. There are some really scary scenes in the movie. It's kind of hard to believe that 10 to 15 minutes of the movie was cut out because those scenes were too scary. It's like, I want to see those scenes now, but also I don't want to have nightmares. So, Littlefoot has to deal with the fact that his mother died, and he kind of reluctantly joins up with this group of dinosaurs that are going west, and he butts heads with Sarah, who is a Triceratops, so that they always seem to fight to be group leader. The other dinosaurs, Ducky is interesting. She's got a great way of talking. She's just got this style of talking, yep, 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 which, just always sticks with you. And kind of, Petrie, not so much. Petrie kind of talks baby talk, like, me, Petrie, me, big flyer, ah. But, I always like Spike the best. He never says anything. He just eats the whole time. And really, I definitely recommend watching the first movie. It's a good one. I think you'll like it. It's just an amazing dinosaur story, just a really well done movie. I'm sure it's better than, I'm trying to think of other dinosaur movies. What, The Last Dinosaur? Disney's Dinosaur? No. Land Before Time. That's the dinosaur movie you gotta check out. So, first movie's great. Ended up spawning a bunch of direct home video movie sequels. The first of them is The Great Valley Adventure. So that's Land Before Time 2. And this one is half good, I'd say. Like, a third of it is just kind of awful. And mainly it's because it introduces 2 villains. And they're just awful. They're just not. They're basically like Pinky and the Brain, except they want to steal eggs. They want to steal eggs and eat eggs. It's Aussie. And it's just not very good. And the egg stealing scene goes on forever. I was watching this with my family and just shocked at how it goes on for like 15 to 20 minutes of just them running through mountain areas with an egg, and our 5 main characters are chasing after these egg thieves. It's just not good. Oh, yeah, so I think if they changed the villains for the movie, it would be much better. The rest of the movie is the kids are feeling sad because they want to grow up quickly, but they sort of learn their lesson when the egg hatches. They thought the egg was stolen from Ducky's nest, and thanks to that 20-minute chase sequence with the egg, 2 eggs get swapped. And the most ridiculous thing about this is that the original egg just kind of rolls all the way back to Ducky's nest, even though they've been running for 20 minutes. Okay, they have to be like 3 miles away at this point. Anyway, thanks to the egg mix-up, the new egg hatches, and it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. They name him Chomper, and he is so cute. And they do try to raise him as an adult, and they realize, wow, this is really tough. Maybe being an adult isn't the best. And it's tough because Chomper likes eating things, and that's why the Great Valley is so good, is because there are no sharp teeth. That's what they call the, meat-eating dinosaurs. And the music in this is really, well, I was going to say good, but no, that's not the case. both the second movie and the third movie will play like music from the first movie, and you can tell, like, if you had not seen the first movie, you would still be able to tell which like musical tracks are from the first movie, because they are so much better than the rest of the music. It really, that final song, like, hold on together, it's like, if we hold on together, like, that's the big theme song of Land Before Time. It's like when they play that in the sequels, it just really tugs at my heart. But they play other themes, like Sarah's angry theme in this movie, and it's like, you can tell, it's like suddenly the music takes a real step up. As for the songs, there are songs in this. So that's something that's different about the sequels. All the sequels have songs in them, and they tend to have like one celebrity, not like here at the start, but eventually they try to get like a celebrity to do a voice in every single movie, just not here. So the songs are okay. I didn't like the egg song, but the egg song is catchy. It's sort of like the song from Barbie Princess and the Pauper, the one she sings to her cat, where it's using a really high level vocabulary, which I don't think the kids will be able to appreciate or understand, but it does make for some good rhymes. So like consternation, like that's one of the words that gets rhymed like 3 times in the song. The other songs are okay. Like, those are memorable songs. Just watching the movie, just wow, memory unlocked. We're a family and you're one of us now. We're a family and you're one of us now. But I guess the audio, I'm not sure what the term is for it. We have like the 4 characters singing the song, but their voices don't blend together perfectly. They're not like all singing together. It sounds a little bit more like they're all singing the same thing at the same time, as opposed to them singing together. And same with the other song, which is come on, let's go and run around. What a beautiful feeling we finally found. Oh, and they play that song over the end credits. Weird moment in the end credits, too, where there's like a baby Spike, like a little Spike dog. Not Spike dog. Anyway, it looks like Spike has a little brother, and they actually have like an adult Stegosaurus there who just kind of randomly pops up at the end in the big scene where all the parents are talking. I guess back to the story. Yeah, they're trying to raise the T-Rex Chomper. It doesn't quite work because Chomper like tries to eat Sarah, and that's not good. But Chomper's parents come into the Great Valley looking for him, and it's a big fight because we've got 2 T-Rexes running through the valley, and that's again like a 15 to 20 minute action scene. But this one was a lot better just because there's so much more variation. We have a lot more characters doing things, as opposed to just chasing these 2 guys up a mountain. And I really did like the scene where the one T-Rex bites the other T-Rex, and then it's like, hey, you bit me. What's wrong with you, dude? That was funny. Anyway, Chomper goes back home with his parents. Don't worry, we'll see him in another movie. Moving on to movie number 3. This is the time of the Great Giving, and they actually say that at the end of the movie. I don't think they really, the titles don't always seem to match up perfectly, but this one, they actually have a big spiel at the end about how the dinosaurs were sharing with each other, and it's known as the time of Great Giving. And I'm like, oh, it was the dinosaur Thanksgiving! And that's what I thought when I was a kid. I liked this movie as a kid, but as an adult rewatching it, this is kind of a terrible movie. It's the movie with the 3 bullies. So the 3 bullies are mean to our characters, and really they're just not important to the story. So like they show up once, they introduce themselves as the big bullies, and they sing their song, when you're big you can push all the little ones around. That's a good song. And then they disappear from the story for like a half hour. The story becomes rationing, water rationing, because comets fall from the sky. One of them blocks the river that feeds the waterfall, and so now there's not as much water in the valley, and so they spend the longest time arguing about it, especially Mr. Three-Horn. It is a little awkward. They can't come up with a name for Sarah's father. Mr. Threehorn, is probably the best one. But later on in the series, we'll get his actual name because they feel it feels weird that, you know, everybody gets called. Well, not everybody gets called by name, but Littlefoot's grandpa, Sarah's father. I mean, their names are their relation to the main 5 characters, not like their actual names. And it's probably boring for kids too to see so much of the story be taken up by the adults fighting. They're just arguing. It's mostly Mr. Threehorn being mean and yelling at people because, hey, it's not your turn to drink water, Longneck. And Littlefoot's grandfather's like, I thought that rule didn't apply to children. Why did he think that? Why did he think the rule? It was a dumb move on his part. And man, he is really fighting with Mr. Arglefumph, or Mr. Clubtail, I think they call him in one of the future movies. So it's just a lot of adults fighting, and it kind of ties in, like they try to bring it back around at the end of the movie about how parents shouldn't yell at their kids and be angry at their kids. And yeah, that's a good moral. So eventually the kids are looking for water. Like all the food is dying because there's no water, and they're looking for water, and they finally find it in the mysterious beyond. And that kind of happens in every single movie. You know, they're in the Great Valley, which is a fantastic place. It's just very safe, and there are no predators there, but that also means there's no real danger. So in every movie, they have to go to the mysterious beyond, where there are sharp teeth, predators that can attack them. And this time it's like velociraptors. And again, kind of like a 15 to 20 minute fight scene with the velociraptors. I think it went on a bit too long, actually. But the adults, well, the bullies do come back at this point. They try to find a water. The bullies are sneaking around the mysterious beyond, trying to find water just for themselves. One of them gets stuck in tar. That's Hip. He's the leader. So they help pull him out, and he's not very grateful. But then his dad shows up, and he starts being a bit nicer when his dad does show up. And the big fight with the raptors, by total coincidence, ends up freeing the water. And so now there's a bunch of water in the Great Valley again. But it does take a few years for everything to grow back to normal, because there was a terrible fire and the terrible drought. And so everybody shares with each other. That's why it's the time of great giving. So overall, I'd say not a very good movie. I did not like it. Too much of the adults arguing, although Mr. Threehorn does have a great song. And you know, Mr. Threehorn's just pretty great in general, but like this movie is not supposed to be about him. This movie should be about kids having adventures and dealing with bullies, but the bullies are really not important to the story. I'm sorry, the drought storyline was too boring for me. Movie number 4 is Journey Through the Mists, and I think this was much better than movie number 3. There's a lot going on in this movie, surprisingly. Sort of a dramatic opening where Grandpa gets sick and he's basically dying. He needs to get this magical night flower, else he's gonna die. And then all of the adults are like, oh, well, that's life, he's just gonna die. And Grandma sings a sad song about death and life, and it's like, why isn't anybody gonna go help Grandpa? Don't just let him die like that. I didn't like Grandma's song, maybe because it was a sad song, but also the audio quality just was not very good. So she kept cutting out. I couldn't hear her. The same thing happened with Spike. So, like, the subtitles would say, Spike is making noises, but I couldn't hear those noises. So maybe I just got a bad copy of the movie where you couldn't hear anything. This movie is also exciting because it starts with this roaming herd of Allosaurus. So Littlefoot gets to meet other Longnecks, specifically Allie. So she's a girl, she's about his size and age, and that's super fun. I like Allie, she's a good character. I am very sad that she doesn't show up again. The movie ends by saying, Allie will return. And then she doesn't. That's so mean. Oh, that's just a terrible way to end the movie, with a fake tease. Jeez. So the story is that Littlefoot and his friends need to find this magic flower, and it's in the Mist Land where Allie and her herd came from. So this area is basically covered in mist because of climate change. I don't know why like this climate changed, but it did. And now, instead of being a green area, it's completely swamp filled. It's got crocodiles and it's got early mammals, basically mice. And Spike meets one of the mice and becomes friends with the mice. It's actually kind of a nice place if you ignore the fact that it's got a bunch of sharp teeth and dangerous predators. But it is a nice looking place. In order to get there, they have to go through like this double rainbow place, which is cool. But no, this big rock cave where we meet the two villains, and they're Icky and Dill, and they're sort of like the villains from movie number 2, but way better. They're way funnier. Their shtick does get a little old after a while because they keep making the same like 2 jokes over and over again. But it's mostly good. They fight with each other. They even have a cool song about how much they hate each other. And I always remembered that song, I Need You Like a Cold in July. It just always stuck with me, even though it kind of is out of place for the Land Before Time series. I thought it was a good song. And Archie, the Archie Dawn, is inside the cave area. And so they spend a decent amount of time in this cave area because Archie is our celebrity guest star. So he's Charles Durning, I think his last name is. He was Doc Hopper in the Muppet movie, so he's the villain in the Muppet movie. But he's a hero here. He gets to help Littlefoot, try to save Littlefoot from the 2 villains, and basically buy Littlefoot time so Allie can go back and get his friends, and then they all can come and help save Littlefoot. So that's sort of what prompts Allie. She's got another storyline that she needs to learn to like Littlefoot's friends. She's not used to dealing with other dinosaurs besides Allosauruses because, you know, she's part of a migrating herd, but she learns that she likes them and they're actually good friends, and they sing a song called It Takes All Sorts, which is another good song. It sounds better than the 2 songs in the second movie. I complained, like, it sounded like the kids were all singing. They weren't singing together, but this song, it does sound like they're singing together. So the singing quality is a little bit higher. I did like the Land of the Mist. It's a very interesting land with a bunch of different dinosaurs. I wasn't a huge fan of the mouse, but it was cute. And, man, I'm totally forgetting the joke that made me laugh out loud. But it was, they had some funny jokes in this. And the scene where they find the flowers is really nice to look at, too. But my favorite scene, the best part of the movie, I can't review the movie without talking about this, is the scene where Spike talks for the first time. He goes, Ducky! And that was so great. I remember as a kid, I would stop the movie, I would rewind and watch that over and over again just to see Spike talk. Because it's amazing, we get to hear what his voice sounds like. He doesn't really talk for the rest of the movie. They kind of make a joke about it. She's like, Ducky says, he can talk when he wants to, but he just never wants to. So basically him talking was a one-time thing. So they get the flowers back to Ducky. I mean, they get the flowers back to Grandpa, and Grandpa's living again, and so it's a happy ending. Hooray! I was kind of surprised at how serious the Grandpa dying scene was. I legitimately thought Grandpa was going to die like Mom did in the first movie. It was way more dramatic than I expected. Overall, I thought Land Before Time was a good one. This is one that sticks out as a pretty good entry in the series, especially because of Allie. It's got good villains, and I did like exploring the Land of the Mists. I thought Land Before Time 5, The Mysterious Island, was really good. This is almost as good as the first movie. It was just fantastic. So, this was the last Land Before Time movie I had growing up. I had movies 1 through 5, and pretty much everything about this movie is good. It's got a lot of story, a lot of smaller scenes. So I complained about the previous movies having scenes that stretch on for like 10 to 20 minutes. But no, this one is a lot better with its pacing. So, just a lot of different scenes which fit together really well. The story is that locusts show up and they eat all of the food in the Great Valley. And this made me terrified of locusts as a kid, because I'm like, how do we survive on the planet Earth when we have these monsters which will eat all the food in 2 minutes. Like, what stops the locusts from destroying every single farm on the face of the planet? And so our heroes are forced to leave the Great Valley. They end up at the ocean, where the kids sneak off by themselves in order to prevent their families from separating, because they're all angry and mad at each other. And I really did like the drama with everybody kind of getting mad at each other. I thought that was well done. Mr. Three-Horn is good, as is Littlefoot's grandfather. I also like the scene at the beginning about tree stars and Mr. Clubtail. And really just like pretty much all the scenes in this were really good. It's just a very good movie. So they find a mysterious island. They go on the island, but then the walkway to the island is destroyed by like a sudden tsunami. So now they're trapped on the island. They tried to make a raft to go back to the island, but they get attacked by a shark, or as they call it, a swimming shark tooth. So they're stuck on the island for basically the second half of the movie. And it's fine. On the island, there are shark teeth, right? There are dangerous predators, and one of them is Chomper from movie number 2, and it's so exciting to see Chomper again. I really liked Chomper. He can talk now, and it's interesting to see him talk to his parents, and he has to like try to hide Littlefoot and his friends from his family because he's worried his parents might eat them. And there's funny scenes where like he translates for his parents. That's good. And there is a little bit of drama where they're worried that Chomper and his family might eat them, but they do alleviate the tension with a funny song called Friends for Dinner. And my only real complaint about the movie is the song Friends for Dinner. No, it's a great song, but Littlefoot's voice sounds weird. He just sounds weird in just like his first line of the song. I don't know why. His voice sounds normal for the other songs. I did look it up. Apparently he has a different singing voice than a speaking voice. But still, I don't know why. It was just a really weird line delivery during that particular song, to the point where it's like, was that actually Littlefoot saying that? Or was it supposed to be maybe Sarah singing that line? But it's like, I couldn't tell. It sounded like a completely different actor. And Littlefoot sounds just fine in the other songs. The other songs, Always There, and then Big, 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 Big Water. But Friends for Dinner is just fantastic. It's a great song. And we have a big finale where we have this scary, not really a T-Rex, I guess people call it a Gigantosaurus, which tries to attack the kids. And it's just an awesome dinosaur battle, because we have the two T-Rexes fighting the Gigantosaurus, and you can kind of tell they were made by different production teams, because, like they look like completely different dinosaurs. That is, all the lines on the T-Rexes are thick to match the way they looked in the second movie, whereas this one has like thin lines and like cool little tiger stripes, and yeah, it's just a cool looking dinosaur. And then at the very end, we have our celebrity guest star, Christina Pickles. I had to pause for a moment to look up her name, because I was going to say Cynthia Pickles, but no, that's the doll that Angelica has in Rugrats. Another random thing I want to say, so like in the previous review, I might have said that Allie was an Allosaur, but I got this Mickey Mouse book, which tells me Allosaurs are these guys. This guy, see how it's like biting the Brachiosaurus and there's blood in it? Yeah, there's actual blood in this Mickey Mouse and Goofy book. Totally unexpected. Similar to how there's blood in this movie, and that's relatively unexpected too. I don't think there was blood, even though there was like brutal murders in the first Land Before Time movie. I don't think we saw any blood. Anyway, where was I? The celebrity guest star shows up. She's actually pretty interesting and nice, and she takes our heroes to shore because she's a plesiosaurus, and so she just takes them all the way to shore, where they're reunited with their family, and then eventually they go back home during the ending credits. Okay. So yeah, I thought it was a good movie. Lots of interesting stuff happened in the movie. I thought it was great. So I definitely recommend it. Definitely my favorite of the movies after the first one. The Secret of Saurus Rock was not a good movie. I didn't like it. The premise is weird. It's a cowboy movie, and that makes no sense because this is a dinosaur movie. Why are you putting cowboys and dinosaurs together? They don't match. They don't fit at all. And I doubt that kids watching this movie in 1998 know who John Wayne and the Lone Ranger are, but still, that's what the movie does. We've got the lone dinosaur who's come here to the Great Valley, and I noticed a mistake. He says, "I'm just passing through." On that line, there's a hair on screen. You can see a human hair in that shot. It's like, oh no, oh, that's bad. There was another mistake there. Another mistake where they're jumping across a chasm, and there are 4 different spikes that they have to jump on. And Spike jumps 6 times on 4 spikes, which, doesn't make sense. That was a terrible scene in general because, like, every single character had to cross the chasm individually. So it was like 7 minutes because every character went separately. And we have the same thing when they're going back across the chasm. Every character has to move individually. It really felt like they were stretching things out. Other places where it felt like they were stretching out, and especially the scene with the mud holes, probably the best example of how they kind of stretched things out to try to match the music. Like they would fast forward some of the animation and then slow down some of the other animation to try to make it match the song. I don't know what song they were playing, like Sarah's theme. Let's say they were playing Sarah's theme from the first movie. It's like, well, that's a 4-minute song. So this scene needs to be 4 minutes of no characters talking so it can perfectly match the original song. It just doesn't work. The best example of the music not working is the scene where they play If We Hold On Together, the big dramatic dying mom song, right? This is played during the scene where Mr. Three-Horn is criticizing Sarah for being a bad babysitter. "Sarah, I'm disappointed in you." And they're playing the dead mom music. It just doesn't work. So, yeah. So I don't know why they insisted on trying to reuse the music from the first movie over and over and over again, because it didn't quite work. They couldn't get it to sync correctly. I don't know what the issue was there. Mr. Three-Horn's mad at Sarah because she's babysitting a pair of twins. And that's weird. Sarah's an aunt. Who is the father or mother of the twins? We don't know. It just gets completely ignored. Why is Sarah watching a pair of twin babies anyway? She's like 6. That makes no sense. Oh. But yeah, so the twins run away to Saurus Rock. Our heroes have to go there and chase the kids. They are chased by a really ineffective villain called the Allosaurus. Just a dumb villain. I guess it's supposed to be humorous, but it's supposed to be humorous and scary at the same time. It just doesn't work. I just thought it was a terrible villain. The sort of villain who will smash its head against a tree just because it's a really stupid villain. And they get back to the Great Valley, but oh no, everybody's been cursed with bad luck. Just like the legend says, if something happens to Saurus Rock, they're cursed with bad luck, which is a pretty good song. Spike actually sings for this song. He goes, "Pow, pow, 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 pow." It was strange because Spike has a different voice actor in this movie, the same voice actor as Petrie. So Jeff Bennett plays Petrie and Spike. Just in this movie, all the other movies, somebody else plays Spike. So it's weird that he gets double duty in this one. Maybe Spike's normal actor just couldn't make it to the studio that day, or for whatever reason. Anyway, another thing of bad luck is the watering hole went dry, which was the third movie. I didn't like that in the third movie. I don't like it here, and it never gets mentioned again, so why even bring it up? We're just reusing a page from a previous script and hope nobody notices. And they also get stung by bees. Okay, so Littlefoot's like, okay, great. We've got to fix Saurus Rock. We've got to repair the bad luck, because everybody blames the lone dinosaur for all the bad luck. So Littlefoot wants to go back to Saurus Rock and fix the rock, which is weird. He thinks they have to get a tooth from an actual sharp tooth. So he goes inside the mouth of the Allosaurus and starts bashing on its tooth before he realizes, wait, it's a bad idea to be in the mouth of an apex predator. And sure enough, the sharp tooth tries to eat him. And fortunately, the Allosaurus is so useless that they actually have a second dinosaurs show up. This one is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And Grandpa fights it off along with the lone dinosaur. So the two of them defeat the sharp teeth. They get the tooth back up on the mountain, and now the mountain's saved. There's no more bad luck. Lone dinosaur goes back home. Littlefoot learns a lesson that his grandfather is pretty heroic. And I did like that lesson at the end where he learns to appreciate his grandfather. Still, gosh, this was just not a good movie. It will keep kids entertained because it's got enough action, but yeah, wow, it just wasn't good. I don't know who thought cowboys and dinosaurs would be a good mix, because they are not. Movie number 7 is The Stone of Cold Fire. Apparently it's a fan favorite. I don't understand. I did not like this movie. I thought the premise was kind of bad. Littlefoot sees a meteorite fall off in the distance. The dinosaurs decide, maybe it has magical powers. If you touch the meteorite, it gives you magic powers. And yeah, that's the entire premise. Our heroes go to the meteorite and find out it doesn't have magical powers. Oh, and then they just go back home and the movie's over. It does have one magical power, though. When the villains smash it with rocks over and over again, it suddenly explodes. That way we can have an exciting ending. It was admittedly exciting, where the kids are running away from this exploding volcano and exploding rocks everywhere. It was an exciting ending, but it's just weird that the meteorite explodes. Oh yeah, and there are geysers there too. There was like green geyser water because they go through the volcano in a geyser, and I didn't get it. That was so weird. And that was one of the big scenes with the rainbow faces. The rainbow faces are a new type of dinosaur. They sing a song called Beyond the Mysterious Beyond, which is probably the only song in this movie which is good. I think it's okay, but they take a break. So, like, they sing a minute and a half of the song, and then they talk for a minute, and then they sing more of the song. And I thought the song was completely over. It's like, whoa, they're going back to singing? I guess the song wasn't done. I just thought that was strange. But the rainbow faces are following after Littlefoot the whole time, secretly helping him. And it turns out they are aliens. That's the big plot twist. They are aliens. They were observing Littlefoot for some reason. I thought that was just the dumbest plot twist. I did not like that at all. I thought it was a bad note to end it on, even though it kind of ties with the theme of they're chasing after a meteor. Now, apparently the reason people like this movie is because of the villain, who is Uncle Petrano. That's Petrie's uncle. And there's drama because Petrie doesn't want to believe his uncle is a villain, and he gets in a big fight with his friends. And about halfway through, when he's reunited with Ducky, because she's kidnapped by Uncle Petrano, like 3 times. She gets kidnapped over and over and over, and she keeps getting dropped from tall heights over and over. It's not good. Not a good time for Ducky. They sing a song about, people are sometimes good and bad, and that sort of applies to Uncle Petrano, because he starts the first third of the movie as just a legitimate villain, and Petrie is just an idiot for not knowing it. Petrie is kind of annoying in this one. When I was watching movie number 5, my wife only watched the first 15 minutes, and then she left the room saying, I can't stand Petrie. The way he talks is so annoying. And she would have hated this one because there is a lot more Petrie than normal. Yeah. But, so Petrano's a villain in the first third. In the second third, he's more like a tragic hero because he doesn't want to hurt Ducky, even though he just kidnapped her. And he's got a tragic backstory because he was in charge of half of the herd during movie number 1. And he led them into danger. They got eaten by sharp teeth, and it was very sad. He was the only survivor, and now the remaining herd doesn't really like him very much. So he is sort of a tragic hero, but I don't think it worked with him being like a straight up villain, and then, oh no, actually he's a good guy. And then the final third, it starts with him singing a song about how fantastic he is and how much he loves himself and how he thinks he should be in charge. And he's only trying to get the magic stone so he can become the leader again, because it's for the good of everyone. And I just don't think that worked. Like, if that song had come a half hour earlier, I think it would have been more important. I think it would have been worked better, would have been good. Overall, I understand why people might like Petrano as a more nuanced villain, but I just didn't like him as a character, and he kind of ruined the movie for me. And he's got two villain helpers who were okay. One of them's just doing the same voice as the villain from the second movie. I kept expecting to say, "Ozzy, are we going to get the AIDS, Ozzy?" And I don't know. I did not care for the secondary villains. I did not care for the rainbow faces. There was a segment in the middle of the movie for like 15 minutes where they find Ducky again. I think that was probably the best segment, where the kids were all by themselves. That felt a lot like a Land Before Time movie. You know, there's no Petrano. We finally got a break from him. And that was probably my favorite part. I did like how Sarah complained. It's like, this is the 5th movie in a row where they have to cross a chasm, and they always end up falling or something. And what do you know? That's exactly what happens. She has a big, long setup for that. And I thought it was going to lead to a huge punchline, but it didn't. And that kind of made me sad. I was hoping for more of a punchline with that segment. But Sarah was really good in that segment. Props to Sarah's voice actor. She did a great job. And I think that's everything I have to say about this movie. I didn't like it. Did not like it. I guess if you like the villain, you'll probably like the movie. But I didn't like Uncle Petrano, so I didn't like the movie. I kind of wish there had been a Sharptooth in the movie as a villain, but nope, that was not the case. It's just another movie where the kids go off by themselves and then come back. Movie number 8 is The Big Freeze. You'll notice they don't have a number 8 on the cover. I think this is the point where they started hiding the numbers on the cover to make it less obvious that it was a cash cow franchise, and they just pump out a new movie every single year. I think that's why they hid the number 8. Petrie on the cover looks terrible. That's not what Petrie looks like in the movie. He hasn't looked like that in any of the movies. That is a terrible idea to put bad stock art on the cover. I don't know why they did that. So I thought this was a good movie. I'd recommend watching it instead of skipping it. It's decent enough. It might be a little slow paced, but other than that, it's fine. All of the storylines and morals work together well. Like, the writing could be tighter. It could definitely be improved, but I still think it was a decent entry in the series. I especially liked how Mr. Three-Horn is sort of a nice guy in this. Like, he has his mean moments, but he also has a bunch of nice moments. It's like, wow, we're kind of turning him into a really good guy. That's a change, some character development for Mr. Three-Horn. We sort of have 3 different stories, just like the number of horns on Mr. Three-Horn's head. We have 3 stories. The title story, it's snowing for the first time, and the kids have never seen snow before, and it's a lot of fun. They love playing in the snow. Okay, moving on. Next major story, a really emotional one, is Spike meets Stegosauruses for the first time, and they adopt him. He goes to live with the Stegosaurus family. We don't know their names, so Tippy is the young boy, and he's like the twins in Secretosaurus Rock. He only talks baby talk. He's like, Tippy likes Spike, Spike fun! And then his mom is called Tippy's mom. So that's why I said we don't know their names, and I don't think we get told the names of the other Stegosauruses either. It's just Tippy, Tippy's mom, and some dude who gets angry when Spike messes up. Spike leaving Ducky's family, I thought it was very emotional. She and Spike kind of had a big fight before he left. That's sort of what urged him and pushed him on to leave the herd. And, she and her mother, Ducky's mom kind of plays a big role, and she has a nice song, too. And at the very end, Spike gets in trouble. He falls in the water, and he cries out, Mama! Always nice to see Spike talk. And who saves him? It's Ducky's mom. So, the Stegosauruses did not save Spike. Granted, they can't swim, and Ducky's mom is an expert swimmer. It's sort of like, okay, the lifeguards saved Spike, but still, that's what convinces Spike. He wants to stay at home with Ducky's family. Even though he doesn't quite fit in with the swimmers, they still love him very much, and it was a good storyline. I also like the storyline with Mr. Thicknose, who is our celebrity guest for this entry. I thought it was surprisingly deep. Mr. Thicknose is just kind of lonely because there's nobody else of his species around, kind of working in with Spike, meeting his species for the first time. We've seen Stegosauruses in other Land Before Time movies. There was one in movie number 2, okay? I'm like, this is not the first time he's seen Stegosauruses, but whatever. But it's interesting because Mr. Thicknose is just like an old, lonely man, and he has trouble teaching Littlefoot. They kind of butt heads a bit because they have different teaching and learning styles. And at the very end, we're told Mr. Thicknose has been lying for decades about how smart he is and how experienced he is. The truth is he's never been outside of the Great Valley. He does supervise the kids when they go out into the snow to look for Spike, and he helps them when they're attacked by an Albertosaurus twice. I thought it was amazing how well that storyline worked, because you'd think that it would be super boring for little kids to hear a story about an old man having confidence issues, but no, it worked really well, and his song was pretty good too. So overall, I'd say it's a decent entry in the series. I'd recommend watching it instead of skipping it. Apparently, it was a big hit too, selling 3 million copies. Movie number 9 is Journey to Big Water. It's kind of boring, honestly. I would recommend skipping this one. It's not outright bad, but not a whole lot happens. The premise is that our characters are bored, and they complain that they're super bored. They even sing a song about how bored they are, followed by Petrie singing a song about how he wants to play with his imaginary friend. And then Littlefoot makes an imaginary friend. He starts talking to his reflection in the water, and that's like 15 minutes of just boring, boring, boring right off the start. Not an interesting way to start the movie. No. Maybe they're bored because they're watching this movie. Okay, that's mean. The picture of Petrie on the cover is still the wrong color. It's better than the Petrie on the previous cover, but that's still not what he looks like in the movie. I don't know why they can't get Petrie right on the covers of these movies. So Littlefoot finds a dolphin named Mo, and Mo is a dolphin he's purple and yellow and big friends with Littlefoot. And he talks like that for the entire movie. He's kind of annoying. He's not that bad. I imagine he's supposed to be the quirky, funny friend, but he's kind of annoying. And besides, we've got Petrie and Ducky, who are the quirky, funny friends already. So our characters have to take Mo to the ocean and then come back. And that's the entire story. It's just them walking along a river. Occasionally they do stuff like, okay, Mo has to jump over some logs. Yeah, he jumps down a waterfall. Or Sarah gets a little jealous that Mo is hanging out with Littlefoot, not her. And Ducky makes them sing the song Big Water from movie 5. And fun fact, I did a YouTube search for this movie, Land Before Time, Journey to Big Water. The first result was the song Big Water from movie number 5. Like, this movie was not the number 1 result when I searched for the movie's title. Like, that's not good. That's kind of a sign the movie's not that great. And there's like a starfish. They see a starfish which prompts a song. I thought that was kind of random. The song is probably the best song in the movie, though. So, yeah, and they meet this mom who's got eggs, and it's just things happen. Things happen in this movie. That's all. It doesn't seem to be like a solid storyline. It probably would have been better if they had a talking villain, like they had in movie number 4 or something like that. Something they could cut back to. Instead of just the kids on another long journey. There's so many movies where they're just walking in the mysterious beyond, and there's very little sense of danger. Because the villain is a Leopleurodon, which is a swimming dinosaur, and it looked amazing, but it's a swimming dinosaur, and our characters spend all the movie on land, so they're not in danger whatsoever. Mo is in a little bit of danger, maybe, but still. Like, at the very end, they have the big action scene where the monster tries to attack them, and our heroes are safe on shore. then they make the really stupid decision to get inside a hollow log, which is floating on the water. And that's stupid because once they get inside the log, it's going to sink to the bottom. Spike is pretty heavy, okay? He's going to make that log sink. But number two, it's stupid because they're already safe from the monster. Why would they get into the water where the monster is? I mean, I know they're doing it so they can have a big action sequence with the water monster, but it's just dumb. They could have stayed out of the water and then there would be no danger whatsoever. So, ugh. And then they do the thing where they make it look like Mo is dead, but oh no! He's actually alive, and it's like, I don't think anybody honestly believed that Mo was dead. And the CGI is not the best in this movie. There's a lot of obvious CGI, which doesn't mix well with the hand-drawn animation. So overall, I just, it's not bad, it's just boring. So I'd recommend skipping it. The next one's better. Movie number 10 is The Great Migration. My copy said The Great Migration. Most copies say The Great Longneck Migration. I don't know why they changed the name. This was a really good movie. I was surprised at how good it is, because the first third is kind of generic stuff we've seen before. It's like, oh, guess what? Our characters are going into the mysterious beyond, and they're going on a long journey, and wow, there's a swamp with a crocodile in it. And so, and then there's a lot about Littlefoot having dreams, which I thought was kind of boring too. But wow, once that first third finishes, there's also a lot of showing off the CGI. They really wanted to show off the CGI in this movie, and there's a lot of that. But once the final third is over, dang, this movie gets really good really fast. It is fantastic. I'd say this is in the top 3 best Land Before Time movies. We've got the first one, movie number 5, and then this one. So I guess every 5th movie happens to be a winner for the Land Before Time series. What can I say? All of the Longnecks are having dreams telling them to go to a specific spot. And so they're all traveling in the wilderness. And that's sort of why I thought the first third was bad. It's like, what is even happening? Like, why are they going to this specific spot? Nobody knows. They're just having dreams about it. So I thought that was kind of a weak call to adventure. But the song, Adventuring, is amazing. Oh my gosh. That song, it becomes like the theme song for the TV show. Because they sing it so often there. We're gonna go adventuring, adventuring. So, I mean, that was a really good song. Gosh, the other songs are great. Like the last song about we'll be your friends no matter where you are. That was sort of like made me tear up a little bit. It was very good. So when one thing I'm told people complain about is that Allie and the Longnecks from movie number 4 don't appear in this one, and logically they should, because all the Longnecks in the country are showing up at the exact same spot. And I didn't think about it, but that is right. Logically, they should be in this movie, but they're not. That would have been a great opportunity. Yeah. Oh well. The movie does instead focus on Shorty, who's a little a long-neck boy who's kind of an orphan, and he's basically raised by his own herd. The leader of his herd is Brawn, and it's Littlefoot's father. And gosh, that's a huge shock. And maybe that's the moment where, like, boom, this movie gets great as soon as Brawn shows up. Like, he's fantastic. That's the third song. Littlefoot singing a song about how much he likes his dad. But it's really emotional because Littlefoot has to make the decision of, okay, is he going to live with his grandparents? Because he spent pretty much his whole life with them. Or is he going to go with his father, who he's never really known or met before? And his dad does a great, I mean, he's just great. Good job all around. Like my wife, who does not like The Land Before Time, was not paying attention. She wasn't even looking at the screen. She was just playing with her phone on the other couch the whole time. And she like paused in the moment, the big emotional moment where Braun's trying to help Littlefoot decide what he wants to do. And she's like, wow, this is really deep for a Land Before Time movie. I'm like, I know! this is so good and emotional. And like, there's a rivalry between Littlefoot and Shorty because Shorty wants Braun to be his father, but Braun is actually Littlefoot's father. And you could argue his friends are kind of weak because they're not part of the for the most part, they're not part of the crowd. Like, they're not with the Longnecks. They're basically traveling on their own, but there is a Longneck named Pat who helps them. And that ended up being a pretty good storyline, too. And then there was this third Longneck, played by Bernadette Peters, who doesn't do much, but, like, I thought her story was satisfying, too. She wants to meet a Longneck who's taller than her, and by golly, she does, and she gets to get married to him, and a happily ever after, and I'm like, oh, that was sweet. And big, exciting action piece at the end where 3 different, Tyrannosaurus Rex style characters attack the Longnecks all at once. And like Littlefoot, his dad and his grandparents have to fight them, and so do Littlefoot's friends and the Longneck that they've been traveling with. So it does end with a pretty interesting set piece where there is an eclipse, and the Longnecks think they need to stretch out their necks to the eclipse to keep the sun in the sky, to prevent the sun from falling. Now, obviously, that's not how science works, but these are dinosaurs. I don't think dinosaurs knew a whole lot about science. But, yeah, I really did love Sarah's line, like, Longneck save the world? My dad is going to be so mad when he hears about this. That's true. Gosh. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Littlefoot decides to stay with his grandparents and his friends because otherwise they wouldn't be able to make 5 more sequels to this movie, but it was still very emotional. This one is more interesting and deeper than a lot of Land Before Time movies. I do like how it does its own music. I did complain with several of the other movies that they're just recycling the music from the first movie over and over. This one, no music from the first movie was used at all. You would think for sure they would play like the Littlefoot loving parent theme in this movie when he meets his dad, or at some point with his dad, but no, they don't. And I think the movie is better for it. It actually stands on its own 2 feet rather than relying on the nostalgia factor to carry it over. So definitely would recommend this. It's in my top 3 favorite Land Before Time movies. Movie number 11 is Invasion of the Tinysauruses. It's not a good movie. I'd say it's bad. I almost fell asleep twice while watching it. The idea of tiny dinosaurs is just dumb. That name Tinysauruses is dumb. The premise is that there are tiny dinosaurs living in the Great Valley. Littlefoot discovers them. But all the other dinosaurs want to get rid of them. They want to stomp them out, squash them flat. And so Littlefoot has to protect the Tinysauruses. He doesn't want them to be discovered. And so he like secretly feeds them in the middle of the night. And so one of the problems is that this is tied with a liar reveal story. So the moral of the movie is that lying's bad and you should never lie. But Littlefoot was lying for a very good reason. He was protecting them from being killed. And then the other lie is that Littlefoot accidentally smashed into a tree with a bunch of sweet treats on it, and the Tinysauruses ate all the sweet treats. Everybody in the valley wanted to eat the sweet treats, but the Tinysauruses eat them first. And Littlefoot says the tiny dinosaurs ate the sweet treats, which is not really a lie. They did. They did, in fact, eat the sweet treats, and that's what kicks off the storyline of everybody wanting to kill them. And Littlefoot's technically not lying there. He's kind of lying by omission by leaving out the part where he knocked some of the treats off the tree, but the tiny dinosaurs did, in fact, do the bad thing that they are being blamed for. The song Creepy Crawlies, it's not a very good song. I'm sorry. It's almost good, but it feels like the notes just get sung a little higher than they should be. So, creepy crawlies, those creepy crawlies. I'm like, what? No, it should go creepy crawlies, those creepy crawlies. Like you need to match. The first half of the line didn't match the second half. And they must have thought the song was great because there's a reprise of the song and then there's a cover of the song during the ending credits. I guess. No, I didn't like the second song. It was about how dads are terrible, and as a dad, I don't like that. And then the third song is okay. Grandpa could have done some better singing, and I think Littlefoot could have done better singing as well. Grandpa, like half the time his singing is things like, "They might be nice. I'm just talk singing." It's talk singing. It's more like every single word was talked, except for the last one, which was sung, if that makes sense. So I feel like Grandpa could have tried harder with his singing. So not very good songs, not a very good story. The Tinysauruses are not very memorable. Like, Mo was more memorable. I thought Mo was kind of annoying in the Journey to Big Water, but, you know, I remember him. I can't remember the Tinysauruses. They all look the same. I can't remember their names, except for Big Daddy, who's the leader. He's the memorable one. Because they live in a hole, the coloring is weird. So you'll notice that Spike changes colors when he's in the underground hole area. And that happens for pretty much everyone. So because the Tinysauruses are in an area where the coloring changes quite a bit, it's hard to know which one is which, because they all look exactly the same except for the coloring, and they all pretty much look the same as Littlefoot. So, not a good movie, but I do have a soft spot for it because I love the storyline with Sarah's dad, because I remember this. His name is Topsy. Like, this is where his name is officially revealed. Instead of him being Mr. Three-Horn, like every other movie's called him, now he's Topsy. And he has a hilarious storyline where his old girlfriend moves back into town, and he's all giggly and happy around her. And that's just funny. I thought it was great. They try to have, like, emotional moments with Sarah doesn't like the fact that she's kind of getting a stepmom. We never hear what happened to her actual mom. It feels like that's a huge oversight. So Sarah's mad at her dad, and she's mad at the new stepmom. And they almost have a big, like, emotional connection like they did in the previous movie with Littlefoot's dad, but I don't think it quite got there. Instead, it's just a funny storyline, so I like it. Another moment I see people hate on is the moment where Littlefoot's friends hate him so much and they're really mean and angry to him. I thought that was a joke scene, or at least there is a funny joke where they make a long list of reasons why they hate Littlefoot, and one of them is, "Spike ate my breakfast this morning." And Littlefoot goes, "That wasn't me, that was Spike." And Petrie goes, "Oh yeah, well, I'm still angry." And I'm like, that's a joke. Come on, it's supposed to be a joke scene. If you take it as a serious scene, then yeah, his friends are being total jerks, but I thought it was more of a joke scene. This movie probably would have been better as an episode of the TV show. Like, if it had been a half-hour episode, it would have been not the best, but it would have been tolerable. But as a full-length movie, oh no, it's not very good. I feel like it's probably made as a TV movie because they take commercial breaks, like the screen fades to black and then it cuts to a couple of minutes later. And I noticed that 2 or 3 times where they stop for commercial breaks. So overall, Invasion of the Tinysauruses is not good. Sorry, it's just not good. Skip this one. Movie number 12 is The Day of the Great Flyers. I didn't like it. It was a Petrie movie, so my expectations were pretty low, but this movie managed to fail my expectations. It was worse than I thought. It does have a decent enough premise, like, Petrie is in a flying competition with his brothers and sisters, and he keeps messing up. Like, he keeps accidentally going too high or too low instead of going in the V-shaped formation. That's what they're flying in. And it was neat to see his brothers and sisters for basically the first time. They really haven't played a role in any of the other movies. So they get to argue with Petrie. They're mad at Petrie. It seems he's just having a problem with nerves because he can fly perfectly fine when he's on his own. And, I thought that was an okay storyline, and it does have a really cool song at the end. But I don't like the moral of the story, which is that you need to believe in yourself and do your own thing. And that's a perfectly fine moral, except for the fact that Petrie is on a synchronized flying team. And no, if you're on a synchronized team, you should do the correct, proper steps instead of just doing whatever the heck you want. And that's what happens. They're flying in a V, and Petrie's like, oh, guess what? I'm going to do a flip loop-de-loop dive now. completely throwing everybody off, and it's presented as a good thing because he's doing what he wants instead of being pressured by his brothers and sisters. It's like, great, you just ruined the flying routine for everybody else, Petrie. Way to go, you jerk. So I thought that was bad. I would have preferred it if the moral of the story was Petrie actually learned how to deal with his nerves and succeed with his brothers and sisters, and they helped him. That probably would have been better. The other major storyline is with Sarah, where she feels neglected by her father because her father and I guess he's married to Tria now. They're having a baby, and so Sarah feels neglected when they're preparing for the baby's hatching, and then she feels neglected again after the baby's born because her parents are only paying attention to the baby. That's the only thing they care about. And the baby was admittedly very cute. I think that makes up for the fact that the storyline wasn't the greatest. It's pretty similar to the previous movie's storyline where Sarah feels neglected by her dad. And yeah, that's basically the exact same story. And the resolution wasn't the greatest. It was that Sarah helped save the baby from being hurt, and so her dad expresses his appreciation for her. And that's it. Like, they could have done a bit more about, Sarah, honey, I'm sorry I've been neglecting you recently. That would have been a nice way to take the story, but no. However, it does fit nicely that Sarah's feeling neglected, and Petrie's also feeling out of place in his own family because his brothers and sisters don't like him. So those two stories go along pretty well. There's no storyline with Littlefoot. There's no storyline with Ducky or Spike. There's a couple scenes where Ducky's being mean to Spike. I don't know what was up with that. Yeah. So the other major storyline is with Guido, who is a microraptor, so it's like a tiny bird with wings, and he doesn't know what species he is. He kind of had, like, he shows up in the Great Valley, and it's unexplained amnesia, and it's never mentioned again. He's like, oh, I don't know who my family is, I don't know where I belong, I just woke up here one day, me, an adult man, and we never worry about where he comes from or curing his amnesia. That's just an excuse, I guess, to explain why he doesn't know that he can fly. And oh my gosh, like, this movie takes forever when building up to the fact that Guido can fly. Like, he has wings and feathers, and this gets mentioned like 5 or so times. It's like, and it's supposed to be treated like a big shock that the thing with feathers and wings can fly in the flying movie. And I just thought it was really, really dumb. Now, maybe little kids will probably be surprised to learn that Guido can fly, but I don't think so. I think little kids are smart enough to know that, hey, birds with feathers can fly. Guido himself was mildly annoying. He's not as annoying as he could have been. I've seen other characters in the vein of this character where he usually talks in a voice like this, and I'm just always cringing all the time because I'm scared of hurting people's feelings. Oh, don't look at me. Oh, Mr. Three-Horn, you're so big. Oh, I didn't mean to say you were fat. Oh, don't get mad at me. Oh, I'm gonna throw myself in some mud now. That's the comedy character Guido's playing, and it's not the best. It's pretty annoying, but he doesn't really do that annoying voice that usually comes with characters like that. So that's good. That's good. He had a bit more depth to him, and you know, he bonds with Petrie especially because he feels like an outsider because he doesn't have any family, and Petrie's family is being mean to him. He helps Petrie overcome some of the problems Petrie has with his brothers and sisters, and that's nice, and that's fine. So where the movie really lost me is about halfway through, where Guido is walking in his sleep. And this sequence goes on for 12 minutes. It is 12 minutes of Guido sleepwalking. And, you know, he's about to fall into some water, so our characters have to save him. And then he's about to fall into some lava, so our characters have to save him. And he's about to fall into a gorge, and our characters have to save him. And I'm not exaggerating. It is 12 minutes of just sleepwalking. It was terrible. Oh. So that's where the movie just completely lost me, and I just stopped caring about everything else in the movie after that. And it's building to the fact that Guido can fly. That's it. That's the big revelation. But he was asleep when he was flying, so he doesn't remember it. And so we have to teach him that he can fly and build up his confidence to help him fly, which is similar to what's happening with Petrie. Actually, it's the exact same thing that's happening with Petrie. They're just doing the exact same story twice. And the fact that he was walking away for 12 minutes means they get to spend time in the mysterious beyond. So they have to escape some this mean dinosaur that's chasing after them. It felt like totally obligatory, not important scene. Yeah, that went on for a while too. There's probably more like 8 minutes instead of 12, but yeah. Just 12 minutes of following a person who's walking in their sleep. Oh, gosh. So that was bad. I feel like a lot of fans give this movie a pass because the movie before and after it are both worse. But I didn't think this one was much good at all. So, like I said, it's in the okay range until that 12-minute sleepwalking segment. And I'm like, no, this is bad. I'm out. This is bad. I'm leaving. Bring on the next movie. Land Before Time number 13 is the worst movie of the entire series. Everybody agrees that it's the worst movie because it is really terrible. Do you like fart jokes? Do you like butt jokes? That's what this movie is all about. It is all about the butts. And this is the first time they've had fart and butt jokes in the Land Before Time series. And that's the entire movie. Oh my gosh. It's like watching something from the Captain Underpants series. Gosh. Yeah, so like one of them sits on Petrie and then farts on Petrie. That's an actual joke. And they like shake their big butts all over and they bounce on their big butts. Those are the two creatures that are on the cover. They're the yellow bellies. And it's just a series of butt jokes. And it's really terrible. There is no subplot, so the entire movie is basically these characters being super annoying. I mean, not only are their butt jokes annoying, but they also make annoying screeching noises like, ah, ah. And, you know, when they meet up with their herd, there's like 100 of them making those screeching noises at the same time, which is terrible. There's also a somewhat decent song where they dance, but then they just start bouncing on their butts over and over again, and like, that's how they save the day at the end. The villains are about to eat them, and they just bounce on their butts, which makes the cliff fall, and the villains fall off the cliff. But these characters are so annoying. They're too stupid to live. That's kind of the premise. Is, they will walk off a cliff if they don't get any help. And so Littlefoot decides to help them reach their destination, which is, at first, it's this mountain that is shaped like a yellow belly, and then second, it's taking them to Berry Valley. And I'd be okay if they didn't have the second half of the movie, if they just got to the mountain and stopped. But it's like, no, we have to spend another 40 minutes with these characters, and now there's even more of them. Oh, I feel bad for the actors who played these characters, because they're good. The celebrity voice actors, they're perfectly fine actors, but these are terrible roles. I feel bad for them. Like, oh, this is such a bad movie. And then even like, Guido from the previous movie, voice actor does the exact same voice for Guido as he does for one of the yellow bellies. The movie doesn't care. It doesn't care that this was the same voice used for a different character in just the previous movie. Gosh. It's just so annoying. I just hated the entire movie. They made me so mad. These creatures are too dumb to live. They will walk off a cliff if you let them. They do that multiple times. They whine that they're thirsty. It's like, I'm thirsty, Littlefoot. You should go get me some water. It's like, but there's a watering hole just 2 minutes ago. It's like, yeah, but I'm thirsty now. Go get me water. And then this leads to a punchline where Littlefoot's like, hey, we should go. Anyway, the punchline's stupid, where he forgets that he's thirsty. Isn't it funny? He was wasting time, and it turns out he didn't need to. Dumb movie. The other thing that I didn't like about the movie is just Littlefoot's completely out of character. There needs to be a subplot. Like, if there was a second storyline or a subplot, the movie would be fine. There's kind of a subplot where the parents are following after them, And I say kind of because it's probably like 3 minutes at most where we have brief scenes, the brief cutaways to the parents trying to find the kids. And you know what? That's still better than anything with the yellow bellies, okay? The yellow bellies are awful. But Littlefoot is obsessed with wisdoms, which are things like look both ways before crossing the street. Or, don't get separated from the herd or else you'll be eaten by a velociraptor, which is good advice. Just pieces of advice, which are good if you're a dinosaur. And Littlefoot's just obsessed with them. He's like, the wisdoms! I need to teach them the wisdoms! And they're too stupid. They can't understand it. Pay attention and be on the lookout for predators is one of the wisdoms. And he tells that to them. They're like, okay, we're paying attention. Huh? It's like, no. The piece of advice is pay attention for predators. We're paying attention. What's the advice? Huh? And the movie's just filled with stupid jokes like that. I hate these yellow bellies. Okay, I am exaggerating for comedic effect, but they are really awful and ruin the movie. And it is definitely the worst movie of the series. And the series got canceled after this movie because it is so darn bad. Anyway, Littlefoot being completely obsessed with making sure people follow parental advice. That's weird, because he's always breaking his grandparents' rule of stay inside the Great Valley. That actually was a legitimately funny joke at the end where they're like, hey, what about the piece of wisdom, stay in the Great Valley so you don't get eaten by predators? And they're like, oh yeah, we have trouble with that one. I thought that was kind of funny. So there's one joke that's kind of funny. They try to build up to this lesson that, you need to be more like the yellow bellies, instead of being obsessed with, safety all the time. Just go with the flow, do whatever you want. And that's kind of a terrible moral. You really should follow your parents' safety rules. And they try to mix this up with the idea that the yellow bellies have their own safety rules, which are, bounce on your big butt if you're in danger. And another one is shove your head in the ground like an ostrich because your tush looks like a bush. They say that several times. I told you this movie's a lot of butt jokes. Oh gosh, it's so bad. So, yeah, I didn't think the moral actually made sense. You really should follow good sound advice instead of just doing your own thing and wandering off from the herd. Otherwise, you'll get eaten by a velociraptor. There's no way to make it sound like it's a good idea you're wandering off from the herd. And whenever they do wander off from the herd, they do it for no reason. Littlefoot says, don't wander off from the herd. And the yellow bellies keep wandering off and they keep getting into danger. And it's just... And then your moral is, hey, be like those yellow bellies. Just wander off from the herd whenever you like. It's that's a stupid moral. These guys are stupid. Follow good safety rules. Okay. So I think that's it. Dumb movie. I don't have anything else to say. Movie number 14 is Journey of the Brave. I thought it was fine. It's good. It's a good movie. I liked it way more than movie number 13. I like how it ties into movie number 10, which is really good, and the first movie. It feels like a return to the series' roots, and I wish this had been good enough to restart the series and they'd go back into production, but sadly it doesn't look like they're going to make a movie number 15. And, this is fine enough for a conclusion to the series. So the story is that Littlefoot's father visits him every spring. This year, there was a sudden volcano eruption. Littlefoot's father is stuck near the volcano. Just a large piece of rock has crushed his leg and he can't escape. So Littlefoot and his friends go to save him. That's the basic story, and it's a good enough story. Half of these movies are about the kids having to go on some sort of long journey. I think you might be able to do a super edit of all 14 movies, just put the scenes of the kids traveling back to back to back to back and just make it one super long journey. Totally random silly idea. Sorry, off topic. I apologize. I like the various scenes in the movie. The sharp teeth are really cool looking. They've got the feathered sharp tooth and they've got one with horns. Those scenes were great. I like the scene with Petrie and the little creatures that think Petrie's their leader. I thought that reminded me of movie number one, but what really reminded me of the first movie was the storyline with Sarah and Littlefoot fighting with each other over what to do and which way to go, and their fight escalates to the point where the group splits in half, and Sarah leads the other and others in a different direction, and she's too proud to admit she had gone the wrong way, as the narrator from the first movie says. And that's a story straight from the first movie. I like it here. It really is a return to the series' roots. It was a lot more emotional in the first movie because Littlefoot feels abandoned by his friends the same way he feels abandoned by his mom, and that movie really tugs, really goes into the emotion of that moment. Whereas, the fight is a bit more fierce in the first movie as well. This one kind of lightens the moment after the big fight by having a song which is half happy, half sad, but it's maybe it doesn't pack quite the same emotional punch, but it still is like an emotional scene. So I guess the rest of the movie, saving Braun is fine. The ending was a little bit rushed. Not the scene of them saving Braun, that's fine. But as soon as they save him, the movie's like, whoops, we're over, done, gotta leave. And it's like, come on, we don't need to wrap up the film that quickly. The rest of the movie, I think, is Reba. There's a big section where Littlefoot and Reba are together. She's our celebrity guest star, and she sings a song, which has been very well received. I did not particularly think that Reba's character was a knockout character. I kind of got a little tired of the jokes she made about her sister. I thought that running gag went on for too long, but all of the other critics say she was great in this movie, especially her song, so I'm not going to complain. Actually, my favorite song is Today's the Day, which is the first song from the movie, and I like Hot and Stinky. That is a catchy song. When I first saw the movie, that was stuck in my head for a week, and just watching the movie again for this video, it's like, oh, they're singing Hot and Stinky, I love that song! I instantly remembered the song. So yeah, I've told a lot of people don't like that song. Too bad, I like it. So, other things people don't like about this movie, they don't like Ruby, who is a character from the TV series, and she's not really introduced here. This movie just has her be Chomper's friend. I think that's fine. I don't think she needs a big, long introduction or explanation. If she wasn't in the movie, people would complain, oh, what happened to Ruby? And she's not in the movie all that much. All you need to know is that she's Chomper's friend. I think you can figure it out from there. The Wild Arms. Okay, I can understand people not liking Wild Arms. At first, I didn't like him. I was worried he would be just like the Yellow Bellies from the previous movie, who were so terrible and annoying. And he does kind of act like them sometimes. I think the humor is better with him because he's not a constant in the movie. He's not always there like the Yellow Bellies were. And he's got other people to play off of. Mostly, he does something silly and ridiculous, and then either Mr. Threehorn or Grandpa will glare at him. And I think that works better than the Yellow Bellies in the previous film. Whoops, dropped my Land Before Time DVD. The Yellow Bellies in the previous film, where they would just be silly and ridiculous, and then the response would be being silly and ridiculous, and fart jokes and butt jokes, and it's like, no. So this was better. This was a better comedy relief character. And I think the other thing people complain about is Grandpa and Mr. Threehorn. And yeah, those are not the voices I would have picked for Grandpa or Mr. Threehorn either. I would have had the voice actors basically just imitate the original voice actors. It's like, you do the old man voice, you do the angry old man voice. But they're fine. I mean, it looks nice, and yeah, that's what I told myself during the Mr. Threehorn scenes. It's like, he looks like Mr. Threehorn. He doesn't sound like Mr. Threehorn, but he looks like Mr. Threehorn, and maybe that's close enough. I did think it was a good movie, and I'm sad that we are probably not getting a movie number 15. It has been 8 years since this movie came out. So, yeah, this is probably the end of the series. And it's not a bad note to go out on. So, thanks for watching my extremely long review of all of the movies in the Land Before Time series. I hope this was enjoyable for you. Hot and stinky, stinky and hot.